Let me tell you a story. I was sitting on the pavement outside the exam hall just 15 minutes before my first attempt at the UPSC exam. As I was going through my notes, I noticed an important topic that I had left untouched. Videos that talk about smart study techniques often leave an impression that once you adopt these smart study techniques, they will transform you into a top student without having to work hard. The truth couldn't be further apart. In fact, study smart and study hard is the only winning combination. Leave out any one among study smart and study hard, and the result will be failure. Now, before we get to the strategies, let me tell you a story. I was sitting on the pavement outside the exam hall just 15 minutes before my first attempt at the UPSC exam. I had taken public administration as one of my optionals. As I was going through my notes, I noticed an important topic that I had left untouched. In a rush, I quickly read it and underlined the main points. With only minutes to spare, I put away my notes and entered the exam hall. To my surprise, one of the high-mark questions was that very topic I had just reviewed. But to my utter dismay, I couldn't recall anything about it, even though I had just read and underlined the key points moments before. If you learn and implement the strategies that I discuss in this video, you will not have a day like the incident that happened to me. So in this video, I will be discussing 4 scientific strategies to study smartly, which is all about really understanding things, the things that you're studying and being able to apply it. For every technique, let me also tell you practically how you can use them or how I tend to use them. But keep in mind that once you understand how to study smart, you will still need to study hard for real success in your studies. But before we get to the strategies, first, let me tell you that science also has shown that there are 2 widely used study strategies that you must avoid at any cost. My experience, which I mentioned before, highlights these 2 ineffective study strategies: highlighting and rereading. Highlighting can create a misleading confidence, giving only a superficial grasp of the material. Similarly, rereading often feels productive but merely fosters familiarity without deep understanding. Both methods provide a false sense of preparation, as demonstrated by my inability to recall crucial information during the exam. But I'm sure that you know this now and you will avoid these 2 strategies that lead only to failure. Now let's dive into smart study technique number 1, retrieval practice. Retrieval practice is about pulling information out of your brain rather than passively rereading things. To use this technique effectively, regularly test yourself on the material you're learning. Create practice exams or use flashcards to assess your recall. Each time you retrieve information, your understanding deepens and recall becomes easier. Try turning headings in your textbooks into questions and then answer them without looking at the text. Now, let's see how I could have used this technique on that day during the last 15 minutes before the UPSC exam. I could have read that topic in the notebook, and after I felt that I had understood the concept, I could have simply looked away for a moment and tried to recall what the concept was all about. I could have made a simple question about the topic and tried to answer it in my mind. At least I could have thought about the high-level sections that I would come up with in an answer. This simple step would have helped me to answer the question in the exam. Remember, research has shown that actively retrieving information helps strengthen your memory and significantly enhances long-term retention. Think of it as a mental workout for your brain where each recall attempt builds stronger neural connections. Moving on to smart study technique number 2, spaced practice. Spaced practice or distributed learning is about spreading out your study sessions over time. Instead of cramming all your studying into one long session, break it down into shorter, more frequent sessions across days or weeks. This method has been proven to improve memory retention dramatically. The key is to allow time between sessions, which helps your brain consolidate information and build upon what you've learned previously. For example, if you're trying to master a complex concept, study it in multiple shorter sessions with breaks in between rather than in a single marathon session. Let me give you an example from my life. I've done mechanical engineering and have not formally learned computer science in college. I just decided one day to learn data structures and algorithms for the fun of it because it felt similar to solving puzzles which had strong success criteria, kind of like a game. Initially, I felt it quite difficult because it involves multiple concepts, but I used spaced practice. Instead of learning all about data structures in one go, I kept learning about it and coming back to it, and eventually it started to click. Try it out. And that brings us to smart study technique number 3, which is interleaving. Interleaving involves mixing different topics or types of problems during a study session. This approach contrasts with the traditional method of focusing on one topic extensively before moving to another. By switching between topics, your brain has to work harder to solve problems and recall information, which enhances your ability to learn and apply knowledge in different contexts. Studies have shown that students who use interleaving perform better on tests than those who use massed practice, as interleaving strengthens cognitive connections. The way that I use this method is once I start to feel bored on a topic, I just change to something else. When you're working on a project, there are often different skills that you need to master. Stack studying these skills intelligently to maximize your results. And we come to the final smart study technique, which is elaborate interrogation. Elaborative interrogation is about asking yourself why and how things work. When studying new information, challenge yourself to explain why the information is true or how it connects to what you already know. This technique helps integrate new knowledge with existing knowledge, making it more meaningful and easier to remember. It turns passive reading into an active dialogue with the material, encouraging deeper understanding and critical thinking. I often use this when I study something. I come up with various questions, and with ChatGPT, you can discuss various angles about a topic, and in this manner, you can discuss intriguing questions in no time. This will help you develop deep understanding in various topics. Do try it out. Now that you know the secrets of studying smart, remember I had told you that you also need to study hard, and for that, do check out this video to know my #1 technique to study hard.